Hi folks, welcome to the latest live. I've not done one of these for a while. I've done quite a lot of them in the summer, but kind of faded away a wee bit, so I don't know why. Anyway, we're back tonight. Basil's going to join me just to go over the latest news over the last day or two, but he's having a wee IT problem with his laptop, so he says. So yes, Hazel, he is late again, but here we are. And even I'm late. So today was a weird day, news-wise. It started off with I was actually on the phone to Basil, and he went, "Oh my God, I need to go. Something's just happened in Sydney." And the two of us flew onto our laptops and saw what was happening over there. It's a bizarre story. There was 7 arrests today in Sydney, in a part of the town called Liverpool. And the 7 arrested guys were intelligence had suggested that they were on their way to Bondi Beach of all places. And they originated from Melbourne, which is 550 miles away. And it's just, I mean, I suppose people that do these sort of things are a bit mental to start with, but under the current climate, what's just happened in that place, to follow that up 4 days later, it's just bonkers to me. So that was the start of the day. And I've been watching the story as the day progressed, and it's pretty mental, the lack of coverage it's getting. And him saying you're the only channel I heard it from. I actually at one point today thought I'm living in a parallel universe. This is bonkers. I can't be the only person that knows about this. That was Basil winding me up, and he somehow managed to put my put all this stuff on my laptop, and I'm the only person seeing it. But thankfully, later on in the day, a couple of newspapers did pick up on it. But you're thinking, what is going on? Now, the footage was quite incredible. I'm going to get the stuff up just now. And Basil's just asking for the invite again to come on, so bear with me. I'll just get that off to him. It was just pretty random. The first video we seen was a little Hyundai. I think it was like an X10, a small one, really small one. And it I thought there was meant to be 7 arrests. I thought, well, there's no way that. Hold on. Why is this not happening? Try to find Basil to send them this link again. There's no way 7 came out of that car. So there could have been 7 arrests. But apparently there was 2. There's Basil there now. There was 2 cars stopped. Hello, Basil. Just wasting time. Where are you?
Hello, mate. You all right?
Bang average yourself.
Yeah, not bad, mate. Sorry, just had a few little technical issues there, as expected. But I've switched things around there now, and it's all working. So
I was just talking about our chat this morning when you went, "Oh shit, something's happened in Sydney."
Yeah.
And it's just bonkers that there's the lack of comment about this. Are you finding that?
Yeah, well, the reason why there was a lack of comment is because obviously immediately they wanted people not to panic. And at the end of the day, they did resolve the situation before it turned into a situation. So the lack of people talking about it is because the mainstream media can still be controlled somewhat by the state. And obviously they've put the word out saying, at the end of the day, please don't put this out there because obviously we've got a tourism industry and all the rest of it, and we don't want Sydney or Bondi Beach to get known for being a terrorist hotspot. So, the fact that it got resolved quite quickly and they say there's nothing to worry about. Now, we'll never know if those guys who they found, like, let's be honest, one of them had blood on their head. So clearly something went down there. Do you know what I mean? We'll never know what actually they were planning or what they were trying to do because they'll hush it up, much like many other incidents get hushed up. You know, we've heard about MI5 in this country catching terrorists and so on, and they don't tell us that has happened, and because they're told, you know, don't alarm the public. And unfortunately, what that means is we end up with less information. We end up not knowing about things that have been going on, and as a result, we're less informed. Which is why citizen journalists, as I always say, are so important, such as yourself, Craig. And you can see this was recorded by someone just sat in traffic. So yeah. Yeah, you can see one of them's got blood on their head there, on the floor.
Now, I am off Twitter just now. I don't know why. Yeah. Could have been the police if that right enough.
Yeah, but obviously something happened.
But
I'm
off
Twitter
just now, so I've got a speaker. Yeah, has there been much chat even on Twitter about this today?
No, surprisingly little. It was big on Instagram, but not on Twitter. Don't know why. I think it's because the situation got resolved straight away. You know, that's the way it seems to me anyway. So, but yeah, just to answer the comments there, it was all Muslims by the looks of it. Yeah, it was all Arab-looking guys.
Yeah, there's 3 of them on the floor. There was a great photograph I'll try and find, and it was these guys all arrested.
Lined up against the wall.
This is exactly the one I was talking about.
Again, they don't do this unless they know that
under
there's
arrest.
something.
They marched across the street and another 4 against the wall. The what? Sorry.
There seems to be a little bit of a delay here, Craig. I don't think you're hearing me when I'm
Still
speaking.
there,
I think I think you're hearing me a few seconds or whatever after I've started talking. I'll quit out and come back in, mate.
All right. Okay. All right, mate. Aye. So that was the start of the day. Being arrested. But, they've got handcuffs on. But there was another photograph with them up against the wall I'll try and get. And there it's here. There's another 2.
Can you hear me there now?
I hear you now.
Good, that sounds better. So yeah, I mean, you see the cable ties, the blindfold, the way that they've basically, like, the way they've put them is not your average criminal, right? This is terrorism suspect. These are obviously heavy duty security forces in Australia, probably special forces, that have been assigned to take down a group. Now, when that happens, that's not random, you know, because special forces are usually not that available to get there. You've got to remember the capital of Australia is not Sydney, it's Canberra. So the thing is that I imagine these have been tailed. I imagine there's been investigations. These are the things that they've been looking into. And obviously they saw these guys making a move. Whether they were doing it innocently or not, they've panicked, obviously, and said, we need to take this down now because there is a chance that something's going down. Whether it was going to or not, I don't think we'll ever find out, to be honest with you. I think they'll keep it all hushed up, but it definitely happened.
Yeah. It was funny, there was a guy with a sort of Arabic name quite early today, and he was saying 5 Australian men have been arrested, and police are not putting out any details. Says, well, if they're not putting out details, how do you know they're Australian?
Aye.
Right? So what happened in Australia?
Lads.
Right. Okay, well, here's another. I've not seen this one, actually. 5 local choir singers. Now, is this the other? Have you seen this one? Oh. I think it's safe to say they're arrested too. I don't even know the car. Absolute chaos.
I mean, look, it's obviously a different location, but
so,
it's same looking guys. So.
Radio silence ever since.
Yeah, looks like it was a different location, but same guy. So
I mean, and then it's been practically radio silence.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolute chaos. Right, I'll go into the latest, see if there's anything that I've not. Next occurred reports indicate 7 men were detained over concerns of a possible violent act, but sources differ in any terrorism link, and there's no confirmed connection to Bondi Beach, or there's no religious motives. Croc's telling us. Australian police detained 7 men after a tip about a possible violent act. They intercepted 2 vehicles. The men are assisting inquiries, no charges filed. Officials confirmed no link to the Bondi shootings. Unbelievable. So I think it is a bit weird that there's no charges. Maybe they are, and it's, they're just wanting to control the narrative. So, but it was just a pretty bonkers day, as I've seen. So apart from that, what's the other top stories of the day?
Today, well, 2 seconds. I'm just going to stream this to my ex-audience, like Craig Houston, because I wasn't doing that like a professional. So streaming there now. No, today the big story was the government's announced the new cracking down on violence against women and girls. That's the big story today. So the government has announced that they are going to be. It was Jess Phillips announced it this morning, and Keir Starmer announced it on Twitter. So Jess Phillips done the rounds today. So basically, she was on BBC News, ITV, Good Morning Britain. She was on Sky News with Sophie Ridgely, and she was on Beth. Oh, what's her name? It's Beth Turner or something. She on Sky. It's a podcast that she does with a friend of hers. Anyway, the point is, she went round and did the rounds this morning talking about it, and they've said that violence against women and girls, they've classed it as a national emergency. So you think, right, they're going to take this really seriously, right? They're going to really crack down on violence against women and girls. And sure enough, what they talked about, and I listened to all of her interviews. I know that sounds like torture. It was. I listened to all of her interviews, and they talked about Andrew Tate and Elon Musk. And that was about it. It was basically, they've announced that boys as young as 11 will be given special classes in how to treat women better. Obviously, these are white boys. They don't want to talk about ethnic issues. But there was literally nothing about the rape epidemic that's going on across the UK by illegal migrants or migrants in general that we've had with the grooming gangs and so on. There was literally nothing about that. In fact, the only time that the issue of grooming gangs was brought up, it was to defend Jess Phillips. It was so she could turn around and say that actually we did a great job. She turned around and said that it's got nothing to do with Elon Musk, the fact that we've getting a grooming gang inquiry. It was actually the fact that, oh God, what are you putting Narinder Kaur on this for? That's Narinder Kaur saying that trains in India are better than they are in the UK.
Funny.
Aye, she's an absolute Fruit Loop.
Yeah.
Yeah, or a balloon, as Kev would call it, a goon balloon. But yeah, so yeah, sure enough, today it was violence against women and girls was the big thing, but nothing about immigration at all, which obviously is intrinsically linked against violence of women and girls. And there was a few MPs that called this out, very few. Rupert Law was one of them, and basically said, this is just a farce, because at the end of the day, if you're not going to address the number one cause per capita of violence against women and girls in this country, which is third world migrants and third world countries, then obviously you are going to end up in a situation where people are going to doubt your credibility in dealing with these issues. And I would concur with that. I mean, we are literally importing illegal migrants, fighting age males to this country every day who have a far higher propensity for rape and sexual assault against women and children than the average white British male does. So the stats speak for themselves, and that goes to show where the priorities lie. And the priorities are, we will pretend to deal with violence against women and girls. We will pretend like we are doing something about it. We will go after 11-year-old boys at school and make them do extra classes where they will sit in a room and watch a video that says, you know, don't be nasty to girls or whatever. But we won't go after, you know, the illegal boatmen who arrive here every day from cultures where they treat women, you know, little better than animals. And that goes to show how unserious Keir Starmer is. It shows how unserious Jess Phillips is. It also goes to show how the callous nature in which they've been accused multiple times now of wanting to cover up in this national grooming gang inquiry. And it brings into question their suitability to operate such a thing. I mean, it's not hard to find out that there are many, many holes in what they are doing, and the criticism they've received from grooming gang victims themselves have not fallen on deaf ears. However, the Labour Party are pretending that it doesn't matter. And I put out a tweet earlier today, I don't know if you saw it, regarding the chair of the grooming gang inquiry and how, you know, she oversaw the cover-up of ethnic data when it came to some of the reports and so on. So, yeah, it's typical from this Labour government, unfortunately. And by the way, the SNP are no better. They're exactly the same, trying to make sure that this never comes out, that the truth never comes out. We are led by people who have facilitated the mass rape of women and children across the United Kingdom, unfortunately.
Yeah, that takes me on to another video that I done the other day about I had problems. This is a weird one, getting it through YouTube's security checks. So I actually went live about half an hour ago, and it was what's his name? John Mason. John Mason's nuts. He got kicked out the SNP, right? He was voted in as an SNP MSP, and he like every other MSP get written a letter by a victim's mother who was urging them to have this inquiry that they seem quite against up here, because the one that Labour are doing is only for England and Wales. And he responded to her and basically urged them all to vote for the grooming gang inquiry if they had the option, which they did have, because there was a new act getting put through. I think it was the Tories put an amendment to the act which would incorporate, you know, a grooming gang inquiry to give Scotland the same sort of level of inquiry as you're getting down south. And he wrote back to her, and he said to her, there's two things. The first thing is, we're better not doing that. We're better concentrating on the young people of today and ensuring their safety and doing things to help them. And these inquiries cost like 50 and 100 million pounds, and that would be better put on other services. And you just think, what are you doing here? Do you know what I mean? What is it you're actually doing? And refusing point blank to even push any grooming gang stuff at all through Parliament. It's actually getting disgusting. And as I said in my video, I haven't been in sales for 20, 25 years. When you ask somebody a question, if they say no, what comes out their lips next is only one of two things. It's either a reason or an excuse. So if you say to somebody, well, do you want to buy that? And they say no, because I need to buy cars in months that I've got 32 days. Well, that's just an excuse. But if they say no, I've got one other to look at, I need to speak to my wife, I'm going to even bring her over for work, be back over in about half an hour, and that is a reason. So when they come out with this shite, it's just like total excuses. Like, give me one reason, justifiable reason, that you would not have a grooming gang inquiry. Now, I can't accept that we're better concentrating on the youth of today, because let me tell you what happens with inquiry. You learn shit that went wrong, and you can make sure you don't make those errors again, and in turn, assure the safety of the current and future children. And this bollocks about, oh, you know, these things cost too much money. They fined £250 million to subsidise free transport for under 22s, and they're looking to do the same with asylum seekers up here. You can find that money, but that's every year. Whereas an inquiry is once, and that's it, the money's spent. So it was just complete bollocks. And they're all doing it, aren't they? They're all just trying to justify why not to have really good, comprehensive inquiries into these things, Basil. I mean, am I losing the plot here, or is that, did normal people see this?
No, we've spoken about this before, Craig, and I think most of the country are kind of bewildered. I mean, the truth of the matter is, we have seen one of the most hideous crimes imaginable, which is, the abuse of children, be covered up and be obfuscated, be downplayed. It's been a constant theme, and it's not relegated to any part of the country. It's been the whole country. We've seen it every single place, every corner where basically Pakistanis live. I mean, that seems to be where it is. The vast majority of them are Pakistani Muslims or Bangladeshis, and they've basically, wherever they live in large enough groups, you will find grooming gangs. Sadly, that is a large part of this country now. There are pockets of them in many cities up and down this country and towns, and therefore there are little white girls who are being abused. But the real sad thing within this tale, given in obviously the ultimate worst thing is the what's happened to the victims, and that is without a doubt horrific. But I would argue it's equally as disgusting that we have a set of people up and down the country who have. I mean, look, I've spoke about this before and said basically there are two cultures that are broken here, right? The culture around Islam and third world migrants and their behaviour towards women and girls. I think it's disgusting, but it clearly is a culture because these gangs didn't know each other, and yet they operated the same. They all went about it the same way. They all picked the same targets. They weren't talking to each other. They weren't discussing how to do this, but they all did exactly the same thing. And that goes to show there is a culture there of how they see these girls and the way in which they abuse them. And that culture needs eradicating from the United Kingdom. And if that takes deporting every single person who's a member of that culture, I am happy to subscribe to that. But the other culture that needs eradicating from the United Kingdom, which unfortunately we can't just simply deport, is the way in which the authorities behaved. Because the authorities weren't talking to each other anyway either. This wasn't standard protocol to ignore these girls, to downplay them, to pretend this wasn't going on, to say, oh, it's racist to look into this. Yet it happened all across the country. So that culture needs ridding as well. We need to find out who these police officers were, who the social services were, who the judges were, who the local politicians were, and every single one of them needs to have their day in court, and if proven guilty, locked up for a very long time, because I just find it absolutely abhorrent that if you find out that this is going on in your area and there's something you can do about it, and not only do you refuse to do something about it, but in some cases actively take part in it. I mean, in one case, a young girl who got pregnant by her abuser was set up in a forced marriage with her abuser, bearing in mind she was 14 years old, and one of the social workers who was supposed to be helping her went to the wedding. That's how crazy things are in this country. I mean, and the thing is, Craig, that's not just one story. There's loads of stories that are things like that. And the thing is, Scotland's been a bit of an afterthought in this because obviously the population of Pakistanis and the concentration of it has mainly been in South Wales and in the rest of England, north of England and so on. But Scotland, obviously, Glasgow does have a Pakistani community there. And obviously, it wasn't long before it came out, that there has been grooming gangs operating in Scotland. The news has come out later than everywhere else. But the thing is, we haven't heard these stories about what's been going on in Scotland. It reminds me of when it was like in England, when it was like we just heard the rumours and it came out in the press every now and then. And the truth is, we need to get to the bottom of this and find out how rife it is. But we also need to come up with real solutions to make sure it never happens again. Now, I'm on the deport bandwagon, right? I'll Dundee too, Basil. Kev, honestly, mate, it will be everywhere, and I absolutely believe you, mate. You're right at Brenton Dundee. I didn't know that, but yeah, it'll be wherever they are. It always shows up. And I'm sorry to say that; it's just the truth. I'm on the deport bandwagon. I've fully gone on to just deport them. Just deport, and let's get this country back to the way it should be. If anyone else who doesn't like getting mass deportations, tell me another way of doing it. And I'm opening us.
Mhm. What do you think the population would be like if we if we deported everybody that's bad, right? Just for starters, and everybody that shouldn't be here, right? Just those two things, which are sort of normal, I would suggest a country would do such a thing. What impact do you think that would have on the population?
I think you can. Well, look, I'm just going off rough figures here, but I think there's an easy case to deport at least 5 million people from this country. I think there's a reasonable case to deport 10 million people from this country, and I think arguably you could be deporting as many as 20 million people from this country. And I don't say that lightly. So let me just break that down for you. The 5 million figure, that is based upon the fact that we don't know how many illegal migrants there are in this country. I'm of the opinion that every single illegal migrant needs deporting from the United Kingdom. Not a single illegal migrant should be in this country. I also believe that the figures that we have are incorrect and far too low. The 10 million figure I'm talking about is the fact that I think we actually need to go further than that. I think a lot of illegal migrants who came here and have been given the right to stay here were done so, some of them under false pretenses, some of them under a lax immigration system. We're finding out that the Home Office has been allowing people to stay even if they didn't pass any of the exams or tests or whatever. It's all been hushed up. And, you know, I mean, there was one case that was in the Telegraph the other day. An illegal migrant answered don't know to every single question, about 140 questions there are, answered don't know to every single one, and then was given the right to stay here. So when you talk about that and you go back to, I don't know, let's say 1997 when Tony Blair took office, you're talking possibly around 10 million because you've got the dependents as well. And on top of that, if you want to go to 20 million, well, I actually believe that an awful lot of people in this country who might have legally come here haven't settled, haven't upheld their end of the bargain, don't know English, have committed criminal acts, maybe he's covered up grooming gangs, knew that it was going on, didn't say anything, and so on. And I think those should be deported as well. So that's where I want to drive the debate to, because at the end of the day, we are at a crossroads. And I think people need to wake up to this reality. The truth is, you need to ask yourself, what makes a country? What makes a country? Is it the land that it's built on? Is it the monuments? Is it the architecture? Is it the music, the culture? Or is it the people? Well, I would argue all those things, other than the land, obviously, come from the people. I would argue that the things that are built here, the culture, the idea of what Britain is, or the United Kingdom is, or Italy, or France, or Germany, is the people that are there. And if you took out every single Italian and you moved them to another country, that country would become like Italy. And Italy would turn into whatever was left. So it's the people that matter. And at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves a question. Does being British mean anything? Can anyone become British? Or is there such a thing as the British people? I would argue that the people of these islands, and by the way, I would include the Republic of Ireland in there as well. If you trace back our genealogy, the vast majority of us who are from these islands are actually related by DNA. And it makes sense, right? Because anywhere there's a natural barrier, the people didn't move much from this area. So they sailed and intermingled, and Irish people came to Britain, and British people went across the island, and so on, and it was all intermingling. But they basically stayed on these islands. And those people, i.e. the British and Irish people, deserve a home, in my opinion. And I believe this is our only home. So I don't want to see British people become a minority in their own homeland. I don't want to see it. I believe that we should carry on having this homeland as our own, and we should hand it on to the next generation and the next generation. And by 2063, which is not that far away, right? 2063 is not that far away. Okay, you're talking what? What's that? 38 years. 38 years away. Okay. 38 years until we'll become a minority in our own country. That's how close it is, right? This is not a joke. It's not a game. It's not me catastrophizing things. This is really going to happen. Bearing in mind, if you class 38 years ago, okay, you're talking 1987. That's how far away 38 years ago was. So if you're sat there going, that's a long way away still. How fast did 1987 become 2025? That's 38 years. And that's what you're looking at. So that distance in time will become a minority. We can do something about it, but the only thing we can do about it is deportations.
Yeah. Now, the reason I asked the question, that seemed ages ago, right? How many? Is simply to follow up with another point in question. Regardless of whether it's 5 million, it's 10 million, it's 20 million, it's a big number. So wherever it ends up, what's the knock-on positive effect to that to our country? Because I tell you what happens right away. House prices stabilise at worst. The NHS doesn't have so much strain on it. Our benefit system saves billions. We save billions with the hotels. So if you can imagine for a minute, and I don't think it really matters too much. Obviously, it's better than more people, right? But whatever the number, those are 3 big numbers you gave us. The positives out of that are instant and tremendously good for the people of Britain. The only downside that we're told about is, but these people do some jobs that people don't want to do. So how bad are the negatives?
You asking me?
Yeah,
right.
You're the only person here.
Sorry, I wasn't sure if you were asking or if you were just. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if you were just letting the point hang in the air. I mean, look, in terms of saying that they want to do some jobs that other people won't do, it's not true. Right? It's just not true. What it turns out is the need for jobs, right, it never ends, right? Because the more people you bring in, the more people you need to service those people. So if you turn around and say we need more bin men, it's because you've got more people, and every so many people need bin men and road sweepers and toilet cleaners and all the rest of it, right? So this sort of stuff, it's never ending. There'll never be enough migrants in the eyes of the globalists. The downsides to getting rid of these people is that we'll have economic turmoil. But the truth is we're going to have economic turmoil anyway. Right? That's going to happen regardless, okay? We're looking at catastrophic level events here because our country is in so much debt, okay? So either way, we need to find a way out of this. And we can save our country one way and we can let it collapse another. But the truth is, either way, it's going to be difficult to do because the mess up that's happened previously has led us to where we are. So I say, take the economic turmoil on the chin and fix our country so that the next generation don't have to deal with this problem.
You might have noticed I've changed the background colour. Did you notice that, Basil? Like that, right? Right, and then I changed.
Sorry, are you going to bring up Wilfred Nancy here?
No, what happened made you think that?
You went to green.
The comments, right? And I'm seeing there was a couple of people who said to when before we got going. Is Kev coming on tonight, right? And I thought, well, no, right? I didn't really want to ask him because I think under the current climate, I probably could not stop. I couldn't stop myself from mentioning his favourite football team, and seen some other lurkers about there. Yeah, I'll not say his handle and give the game away, but Stevens is his real name, right? He comes under an on the plume on here. Both Celtic fans. And I know they must be like hurting just now. So I thought I'd just change the background just for a wee 5 minutes, just so you can. I won't even apologise for my jumper tonight. Right. So but do well, that one, see, I make that one blue, the whole thing goes blue, right? But look at this one over here. That one blue. No, it doesn't matter. Look, there's a wee bit of green. I'm going to leave it at that, right? Just for one night only. Try and show a wee bit of consideration for our grieving Celtic fans. Do you know he's only one game away from matching a record and 2 games away from becoming he's already got the worst start to a career in football for Celtic managers. Celtic's worst run of losses is at 5. And he's just matched 1978 was the last time Celtic lost 4 in a row. So he's already done that one. He can get to the pinnacle of his career if they beat Aberdeen this weekend and get to 5, which would be.
Well, Craig, you can always turn around and say, "Hey, at least I was consistent."
Aye. That's right. I've not watched a single game that he's managed, right? But I kind of need to. Stuff that Kev's been telling me about formations and stuff. I'm like, I need to watch some of his highlights, right? Just so I can get a wee handle on it. Because formations and tactics are a thing that I'm quite.
By the way, I can hear the numbers dropping off as you speak, because you know what it's like whenever you're on a politics show and you start mentioning football, people go, right, that's it, we're done. Not interested anymore.
Kev says that's plenty, it's not a football channel. So, okay, Kev, it's not a football channel.
Well, can I just say, by the way, there is a way we can bring football back into this, by the way. Did you see what's happened to the Chelsea money?
Well, right, where I'm up with the Chelsea money, I kind of
give it to Ukraine.
Aye, but I thought that was done like when they get sold years ago.
No, Roman Abramovich said he wanted to make sure that the victims of the Ukraine-Russia war got the money, basically, right? Which is a staggering thing to do when you think it's £2.5 billion, right? But Keir Starmer's decided to just basically requisition it himself and give it to Ukraine, or he's going to. Well, he said you've got to give it to Ukraine, or we will press legal action. Basically, I mean that's like communism. To be fair, like you can't. Can the state just turn around for a man who hasn't committed a crime and say, we are going to take your asset, we're going to force you to give your asset to who we want you to give it to. Otherwise, we're going to take you to legal action to take it off you ourselves. And it's been given to the Ukraine war effort, which I just think is abhorrent, because at the end of the day, right, one of the things that have happened in Ukraine so far, which a lot of people have misinterpreted, is when you see that number of how much is being given to them, right, it's not actually just cash we give them. They don't need cash, right? What they need is weapons, right? So what we do is we give them weapons, and a lot of that is being old kit from the Cold War that's just sat on a shelf, right? So I haven't lost any sleep over that, right? And at the end of the day, you know, whatever you believe on the war, that's not really costing us, because it was just sat there doing nothing anyway. It was more expensive to destroy it, so we just left it on the side. But the new stuff we've sent them obviously is cost, and this is just cash. So the question is why is that allowed? Well, hang on. Racist people.
This is an interesting one. Racist people, why are you hiding the Glasgow Royal Infirmary doctors started wearing masks again after 5 years? I was the first person to start talking about this, but the day before it came in, and I get told I was a liar, I was making things up. Kev will back me up here. He saw some funny Celtic fan really slaughter me. He said, my daughter's a midwife and she's not been told to wear a mask tomorrow. I says, well, I bet she wears a mask tomorrow. And to be fair to the guy, he came back on to Twitter and said, I apologise. You got it right. Was wrong. So I don't know what you add to Babs having a go at when I'm racist. I'd love you to explain. And why are you hiding Glasgow Royal Infirmary doctors started wearing masks again after 5 years? I'm not. I told the world about it the day before they wore the masks. So, Jawadi, thanks for joining us.
Yeah. When he says racist people, I'll never understand that. I think it's just a go-to, isn't it? Just to see you must be racist if you're talking about.
I'm trying to see what the correlation is between racist people and the masks.
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 Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, maybe I should enlighten you, Wadi, that I'm also on another story about Glasgow Royal Infirmary, who apparently have got special arrangements for kids who are born under conditions with first cousin marriages, and the level of issues that that's been given these kids, and they don't bring them in the front entrance when they come in for the medical checkup. So just to keep you on the theme of the Glasgow Royal Infirmary, that is a story that's on one of my 100 plates spinning just now with all the stories I'm working in. But you'll be first to hear it, Shawadi Wadi, whenever we get to the bottom of that one. Thanks for viewing.
Racist won't work anymore, mate. Yeah, you're right, Michael. It doesn't. Everyone's so sick of it, and they've realised that fatigue. Yeah, exactly. They've realised that they've basically been told to give up our country and to ignore what's going on with women and children, and all this stuff with the threat of being called racist. No one cares anymore. They literally don't. We're at a precipice, and we need to fix this.
Yeah, you just go, aye, all right, no bother.
Aye, yeah, just don't care. Whatever, you know what I mean. I've been called it that many times. I literally do not care anymore. We have a job to do, and it's to fix this country. And there's only one way we're going to be able to do it that I'm aware of. I'm always open to ideas, but I'm happy to hear them. But unfortunately, we are left with one option. And so it's just a case of getting on with it now and trying our best to get people into positions of power that will allow this to happen in the most speedy and efficient way possible. And that is the only way we'll save this country.
I introduced a kid who was from the Congo, was born in a refugee camp outside the Congo, spent his first 14 years of his life in that refugee camp, and then get brought to the UK. He's now in his mid-20s. And I brought him on stage at a rally in Glasgow and introduced him to tell his story and explain that he spent 14 years in a camp because people are coming in illegally. And I think that's pretty pish. And I get called a racist because I was fleecing the guy. I was exploiting him. And you're like, all right, okay. And then the far right told me that I was a lefty because I should have not shared the stage when I told his story. So you can't win, but I don't care. I make my decisions. Everybody makes their decisions. I'll formulate my own opinions. You formulate yours. If your opinion is I'm a racist, do you know what? All it is an opinion. So I'll mine's you're a crank. All right, that's the way it works. Do you know what I really like going when I do that with my arms? I need to sort
Bending around you. Can I just say, by the way, Kev's just put there, I get called racist for flying flags of my country while people calling me that have flags of another country. Nutters live among us, right? I think, Kev, what he's referring to there is the Palestine flag when he says flags of another country. Can I just say, in all my life, I would be absolutely apoplectic if I was Scottish. I'm not even Scottish, and I'm still apoplectic about it. Have you seen the half Scottish, half Palestine flag that is kicking about? It's disgusting.
Glasgow and Edinburgh got a swathe of them, and there was a wee guy with a shop online that it was dead easy to find his address. Somebody gave me it, and it's not far from my house, but I don't care. Sell your flags. And he sells all this Palestine shite, and funnily enough, a lot of like Celtic ultra stuff as well in his little online shop. So he seemed to have a way with it. And a Palestine, absolute crank. Anyway, because we were told like a month before that it was racist to put our flags up. And then these flags appeared. I was like, a flag's not racist again.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Aye.
And it doesn't even, it's not even the flag that's racist. It's the perception of the person putting the flag up. So when you look at a flag, you have to decipher A, why it's there, and B, who put it there before you can dictate.
Do you think that part of this is because of the fact that, I mean, there has been a genuine shift, particularly amongst my generation. I'm a millennial, right? We're the worst generation of all of them. And in terms of the woke lefty stuff, but we were brought up almost like it wasn't important to be proud of your country and to know the history of the flags. Like, for instance, right, we never learnt like the Union Jack, why it's made up of these flags and what these flags are. I think I was about 25 before I realised the Northern Irish flag was, do you know what I mean? You just don't realise what these things mean and the history of it and where they come from and why it's important and who it represents and all the rest of it. Because unlike other countries, we just seem to take no effort whatsoever to instill pride in the children today. Is that your perception of it?
Yeah, and I think it's a lot of it down to schools. I mean, it's amazing that I've seen my kids are in their 20s and partner's kids are young teenager, and that. And I'm seeing him getting through his education. So I've seen it, 2 cycles here. And it's amazing, especially up here, how tartany it's becoming. And it's like, well, we did learn about the Jacobites and stuff like that when I was at school. But it seems like every lesson's always tartanised and UK free. And it's incredible. And, we teach people that the empire was a bad thing. And I need to go back to this. I was trying to talk about this earlier. And I brought up that video from that, what's her name, Cor. And I'm quite sure that over the size and the time of the British Empire, there was some naughty stuff done. But there a lot of good stuff done.
But there's bad stuff done in all of history.
Correct. And we've got to forget about that and only talk about the bad stuff. So I want to show this video because I brought it up earlier and didn't show it because I can't remember what we were talking about. But this is Narendra Kaur, and she's on a train in her dearest India. And I'll let you hear what she has to say. Maybe.
And look at this beautiful train. Now, these trains, yes, they were built, not these trains, the railway networks were built by the British, but it wasn't for Indians. The British, for their own pockets, they used them to transport Indian goods to Britain for their own profit at the expense of Indians. And they even taxed Indians for it. Now look how far Indian trains have come. Let's have a look inside. I actually think they're better than the trains. Beautiful.
Or executive class coach train are 6 charging socket.
Our trains, Indian trains, have come so far now. It's just amazing. We have come so no thanks to the British, actually, because we made it on our own anyway.
Right, fascinating stuff, Narendra. Right, so she's talking about us. I thought she was British. Am I wrong?
Well, have you ever seen the video where she goes back to India and she says she feels more comfortable there amongst her own people than she does in Britain? Yeah. So Narendra Kaur is obviously a well-known race baiter and rage baiter and all the rest of it, and you know, it's well known what she does, right? But the thing is, the point that she's making on there is sadly parroted by so many people, including kind of, you know, white British people who just don't know their history, right? And they'll say things like, well, you know, at the end of the day, the British did colonize India and just rob it of all its wealth, which is just not true, by the way, right? We also gave a hell of a lot to India, civilizing it and all the rest of it. And I've said this before in spaces, and I'll say it here. If anybody gets into an argument with anybody over the British Empire and they want some good facts to back it up, there's a website called History Reclaimed. History Reclaimed. If you type that into Google, it'll come up. It's run by a number of historians who you might recognize if you go on there, and it basically just debunks a lot of the usual crap that gets said about the British Empire. The truth is, India was a hellhole. It was a hellhole in which they burned women on pyres when their husbands died alive, and they were killing each other relentlessly, and all the rest of it. And the British people civilized it, right? And they loved it. The Indians at the time loved it because it brought peace and stability to a region that didn't have it, didn't know what it was like. So when she turns around and says that, that's a load of rubbish. On the other hand, when she mentions trains, of course the trains were used for trading, okay? Yes, there was goods extracted from India and they were paid for, and in return we built things there. That's how empires worked. The East India Company didn't, obviously they got kicked out eventually, became the British Raj. They all did terrible things depending on what was going on, but they also did great things as well. That is history, right? That's how it works. But in terms of the trains specifically, well, they look like British trains because they copied the British model for trains to build them. It wouldn't surprise me if it was British engineering that was behind that, you know, those trains, because at the end of the day, that's the way India operates. The upper classes in India speak English. They literally speak English in the Indian parliament, okay? So our legacy on India has lasted for generations, and Narendra can't get over this fact because she doesn't know any facts, right? Much like many other people who are sadly teaching kids in school.
Yeah, you know the way people like Hamza Youssef, one of my most favourite ever MSPs, he keeps telling us things like Narendra, I'm sure, spouted the same thing, that immigrants built Britain, right? And you go, all right. So by her own admission, she's saying that Britain and the Empire built the railways in India.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't build India then.
Yeah.
You see the logic, or the illogical thoughts there?
Yeah, that's their logic to it. Yeah, and it's just
There's something she said, right? And I just thought, what are you talking about? You've just made that up, right? She said, they took all the stuff from India and they taxed us for it. How does that work? What we'll do is we'll take everything off you and we won't give you any money and we'll tax you just for the sake of taxing you. I don't know too much about the economical history of India, but I'm calling bullshit that one, right? Because that's not how shit works, right? People get paid, whether they're the people that produce it and own the factory or the whatever, the manufacturers the thing or the field that takes the goods out the ground, or they're employed to do so and get paid money. But nothing that would have you believe that nobody get paid anything and we tax them for it. Well, that's impossible. So just stop talking shite. Anyway, anything else happened recently that since we last had a live that's particularly big news?
well, Lucy Connolly has rejoined social media, so her sentence for that is up. Obviously, she went straight on Liz Truss's new show today, and Liz Truss said to her, which is a former Prime Minister, remember, as much as a small stint she did, but she did turn around and say to her, "We lock rapists up for less time than you." And that's true. There are some rapists who have getting less time in prison than Lucy Connolly served. Lucy Connolly's back on Twitter. I don't know if she's back on Facebook, but she's certainly back on Twitter. And obviously, you can all follow her at Lucy TC Wife. I put a tweet out about it earlier. Obviously, Lucy is becoming a bit of a political activist herself because of what happened to her, and it brings into questions the issues of free speech in this country. Yesterday, the UK government announced that they were going to condemn China for locking up a Hong Konger dissident who has spoken out against the government. And I posted underneath that, just remember last year alone, the UK arrested 9,700 people for online social media posts. There was a man sentenced just yesterday to 18 months in prison for 2 tweets that got a total of 33 views. Now, what he said, I thought was quite disgusting, right? I actually thought it was very, very nasty. But I don't believe he should have been locked up for it. I don't believe people should be locked up for tweets. I just don't agree with it, okay? Even if you do, surely this is not a good use of the prison system. Give him a fine, and then if he does it again, then you can maybe lock him up. Give him a warning, something like that, slap on the wrist. I don't agree with it. I don't think you should get that at all. I think we should have free speech in this country again. But even if you do, surely you can agree that this is not a good use of prison spaces, that we have such limited quality. He is not a danger to the rest of society for his tweets. And the law needs changing urgently because we need to have freedom of speech again.
Yeah. Now, Stephen McCauley's just popped into the comments here. The Lion Hotel in Colston, just at the beginning of Bishop Briggs, being revamped for migrants. The posh residents in Spam Valley won't like that. This is news to me. If you've got any more details on that, Stephen, if you send me an email to craighoustontalks2@gmail.com, I'll get a wee snuff about that. Because I love doing my wee out and about videos that I do maybe once or twice a week. And I'm always looking for wee stories to chase up. A maybe 20-25 minute drive from Glasgow, so that's well within that. Take me about 20 minutes to get up there from my house, maybe 15. And I'll snuff about that. So,
did you?
What's next for you between now and Christmas, Basil? What's the
off between now and Christmas? Well, it'll be holiday season for the politicians, so I'll have to revert to talking about more positive things, I guess, because there'll be none of them about to make fun of. Well, for me, it'll just be checking in on the news, posting about it, explaining how crap the country is, and maybe he's doing a few podcasts in between. I'll see how it goes. I've actually, by the way, there was a story that did make me chuckle yesterday as well. Did you see the story about the first ever black British person? Did you see it?
Sorry, I lost you for a wee split second there. I said, did you see that story? And then you obviously
about the first ever black British person. Did you see it?
No. Was it Adam?
No. So back in 2016, the
Wait,
BBC.
Here's one for you, right? Was the first ever black man in the United Kingdom Queen Elizabeth I?
I have no idea. What? No, obviously not.
Right. What do you mean, obviously not? I mean, that's
Sorry,
quite obviously possible.
I don't know where you're
The
going
first
with
black
this.
man in the United Kingdom, Elizabeth I.
No.
We see so much rewriting the history, and obviously we can just decide to be females at the drop of a hat. So,
Yeah.
don't you dare mock me by suggesting that the first non-white person, non-white man in the United Kingdom was Queen Elizabeth I.
For those who don't know the story, the BBC were over the fucking moon. They were. I remember how ecstatic they were at the time. They put a plaque up. Right? They found, it was part of a program they were doing. They found a skeleton of a Roman woman, right? And for some reason, they said it was black. I have no idea why they thought this person was black, but they came to the conclusion. Some scientists said probably black, this person. They're like, what? No way. The first ever black British woman born in Sussex it was, right? And they announced it and they put a effing plaque up that says the remains of the Beachy Head woman was found near the site, of African origin. She lived in East Sussex, mid-3rd century AD. BBC History Project, right? And they put a big picture of this, what they thought she would look like, this black woman with black hair, right? Anyway, DNA evidence has been checked. Turns out she was white. so they've had to take the black down. They've had to take the black down.
I need a video about that.
I'll put the tweet up. I've got all the pictures up when that. It was just off yesterday, and the plaque, and they had to take the plaque down, Craig. They had to take it down. So yeah, it was brilliant. women recognise.
Two videos I've got lined up to do. Right, first black UK. Just put a wee note of that. That'll be enough to remind me. Right. I've got two videos, right? These are not really that time specific, so I can do them in a quiet day. Dash cams, right? There's this case in America, and again, it's like they present this story, and I go, no, that's not the story, right? There's a firm in America who a lot of people use their dash cams. Somebody hacked their system. You've got all this dash cam, historical dash cam footage for people's cars that were not live, recorded dash cam footage from this getting to the server, right? I thought, oh, that's terrible. It's like, wait a minute. That means anybody can do it with anybody's dash cam. I'm not naive enough anymore to think if it can be done, our intelligence services will know before we do. So that means I've got dash cam front and rear in my car. And it's basically just a direct invite for anybody to watch and listen to me at any time. But that wasn't the story. The story was just that how, there was, I said, somebody was doing something rude in their car, and the guy had got like a terabyte of data from historic dashcam footage off of this company that you pay a subscription for your dashcam, and that was a bit of a story. So that kind of went, no, that's not the story. The story is that must be something that's available in every single dashcam in the world. It's just a matter of being able to get in and get the information. And the other story was Ramsey Al Nakla. And I'm kind of scared because obviously I've still got a court case pending for a video. This video that I want to do about Ramsey Al Nakla could potentially get me into a bit of bother. So I'll kind of probably wait until the whole trial's over. But are you up to speed with this trial, Basil?
No, I'm not, sorry.
Right, Ramsey Al Nakla is Nadia Al Nakla's brother. Nadia Al Nakla is Hamza Yusuf's wife. And there was a case started last year. There was a guy in Dundee who fell, maybe, out of a window and died a few days later in hospital, succumbed to his injuries. There was 4 people arrested. 3 of them charged with manslaughter, I believe. 4 of them were, including Ramsey, were charged with abduction. And Ramsey was also charged with 2. I didn't realise this at the time. I thought they were all connected to the same thing. He was charged with 2 drug charges. Now, it turns out the court case started about a week ago. So there was 4 of them up and slightly different list of charges for each of them. But Ramsey was only one with drugs charges, and he was only one out of the 4 that wasn't charged with the manslaughter thing, right? But they were all charged with this abduction. So the trial started. The trial's going about a week at this point. And then last Friday, the prosecutor, Alex Prentice, I'm sure his name is, I watched quite a famous case he has that he seemed to make an arse of against the Rangers' previous owners, Craig White. I went a few days at that trial. That was interesting viewing. Anyway, it's the same prosecutor. And he announced to the public at the trial last Friday that the prosecution had decided to accept Mr. Al Nakla's pleas of not guilty. So he was no longer being charged with anything. And immediately after that, the judge declared to the jurors that Mr. Al Nakla will be presented as a witness for the Crown next week. Right? That's all factual stuff. I'm quite safe to say all that. Yeah. There's a lot of this I want to say that I kind of need to either be very careful what I say, or just wait till the trial's done. So I'll probably just wait till the trial's done. But something that became apparent, again due to the trial, so it's in public record, was the 2 drug charges that he got dropped were previous to the situation with this case. So you would think that if he was helping this case because he's now Crown witness, then the charges in this case would need to get dropped and make a bit of a mockery about the whole thing, right? But miraculously, these historical drug charges have disappeared. And one of the accused was given evidence, it was either today or yesterday, I'm not quite sure, it's been a long day. And there's 2 females charged with this. And she has said that, you know, the threats that Ramsey Al Nakla had threatened this boy. Basically what happened, the guy, there was a crackdown, and this guy was in it, and £700 worth of stuff had disappeared at the crackdown, so he was getting hit for it. And he claimed it wasn't him, but he agreed to pay them back the £700 because he was scared, right? And this accused was given evidence, and her evidence suggested that Al Nakla was going to break the guy's legs and threatened him. And before Al Nakla arrived, the guy was told, "You're in bother soon because that's the boss coming." And then walked Al Nakla. So that's kind of as much as I want to say, because that's all stuff that can, no problem whatsoever, saying, because it's all been heard in court. So you can't get any charges against you for talking about something that's already been declared in court. But I think it's very odd. Do you have any opinions on that, Basil, that you could share safely?
I'd need to look at the case, mate, but it does sound odd, and I agree with you. It needs more investigation. I wish I could say more, mate, but I genuinely don't know enough information about the case to kind of comment.
Something I want to say that's completely unattached to the case, and it's just a fact, that for the majority of Hamza Yousaf's time on cabinets in Scottish Parliament, he shared the cabinet with a woman called Dorothy Bain. Now, Dorothy Bain's got 2 jobs. It's a dual role thing she does. One is a Lord Advocate, so she's like the highest ranker in the judges and stuff, and gives advice to the Scottish Government. That's the role of the Lord Advocate. And then another thing she's got is, she's not the only one, this is just a dual role, so whoever does one does the other as well. She's head of the prosecution service. And for the vast majority, if not all, I need to look at the exact dates of Hamza Yousaf's time in the cabinet of the Scottish Government, he would have served with Dorothy Bain. Now, I am obviously not suggesting that fact is linked to anything else that we may or may not have spoke about before. But I kind of think it's weird. And it's kind of, It's a thing that doesn't need to happen because you shouldn't have the government and the judiciary the same thing. It's not normal. And when they wrote these rules to have these jobs part of the cabinet and stuff like that, nobody probably considered that a future First Minister's brother-in-law would be up in a manslaughter and drugs charges. Nobody would have considered at the time that an ex-First Minister would be part of an investigation of missing at least £600,000, where a man is due at court any day soon to start a case about embezzlement. So nobody would have considered these things. But now that they've happened, it just highlights the ridiculousness of the situation. And I'm not making any aspersions about Dorothy Bain nor Hamza Yusuf. But what I am saying is there is no need for there to be that connection and that potential assumption of collusion. And it needs rectified because it's not right. Did you know about that?
Well, look, I mean, when it comes to these kind of cases, you know a lot more about them than me. I don't want to prejudice myself in that respect because I just genuinely don't know, mate. So, it sounds dodgy as hell, and it sounds like it's something that those kind of people would have done before. Yeah.
But did you know that about this? The role of the Lord Advocate and the role of Head of Prosecution Services is an automatic member of the Scottish Cabinet. Were you aware of that situation?
No.
It's bonkers. It's absolutely bonkers.
It kind of like reminds me of, you know, when you find out that the London Mayor, right, is also Police and Crime Commissioner, right? And do you know why they do that? So that means that anybody with a criminal conviction can't run for London Mayor. Because if you have a previous criminal conviction, you can't be a police and crime commissioner, yet you can be a member of parliament. Right.
If the idea was you just didn't want a mayor to have criminal convictions and just make that a law.
Exactly.
About it.
Exactly. But the reason why they do it is because not all mayors are police and crime commissioners. But the one in London specifically is.
And is there somebody in London that would be a great candidate that couldn't because of their previous convictions?
Well, I'm sure this law was put. The rule was brought in at a time when someone wanted to do that because they wanted to play dirty politics, much like Angela Rayner wanted to make sure that mayors couldn't run for election as MPs earlier this year and put that law in.
Yeah.
It's all a dirty game, mate. I'm sorry, mate, but I'm going to have to go, right? Because it's been over an hour and I need to get going. So.
Anyway, because it's done the hour, and I've got my wee auntie. I'm away to court tomorrow to support her. I would not start tomorrow. It's a pre-hearing, but Kevin joined me about a month ago when she had her plea diet, and it was quite a farcical day. I've never done a video about that day without talking about my case that day. The things that we saw in that court was just bonkers. I've been in court obviously twice recently for my own thing, which is just a bit mental. I wish I could tell you more about it, but I can't. But when you're there and it's your trial and stuff, you can't. You're only focused on your own thing. But when I was there and I was able to sort of, listen to what was going on all around us, because Glasgow Sheriff Court's one of the busiest courts in Europe, and some of the mad shit that goes on in these courts, you just think, seriously, this whole system, this whole process is just bonkers. So anyway, Kev, you listen, stupid. Listen, look. Everybody knows Kev's changed. Since that first day, he done 500,000 hits in a video when we were travelling down to Epping. He made a video the day before in Edinburgh, and it went viral. He changed instantly. I saw it in front of my eyes. I saw him develop into this thing that's now taking microphones at talks, charging people £5 for selfies.
Craig, I saw him on a BBC documentary.
Aye. Did you see his bodyguards beside him?
Can I just say, by the way, I thought, Kevin, I've actually spoke. I thought you came out of that very well, and you spoke very well as well. You didn't take the bait when they offered it to you, so I thought you did very well, mate.
Yeah, I think Kev's performance that night was one of the best on that, and there was a lot of people interviewed.
Yeah, some people who came out of it absolutely terribly, but not Kevin. Yeah.
No, I mean, someone, oh no, don't say that. Oh my God, no, but Kev was fine. They did edit one bit out mean, there was a wee woman beside me because I was at one side of the street behind the barrier and Kev was at the other side. And I nudged this week, she's like, "You're that great boy, aren't you?" I meant, "Aye." She was, "Where's Kev?" I says, "There's Kev over there," right? I says, "Let's go and shout, you've changed," right? And he wants on the megaphone shouting, "Kev, you've changed." They edited that out. I'm most disappointed.
Right.
Anyway,
I'll have to shoot.
disappear now. So thanks very much for joining us tonight, Basil. To get us
No problem, mate. Anytime.
on the live, so try and get them more regular. And thank you to everybody that's been tuned in at some point. And there's a few still in the chat. I've been here all night, so appreciate that. However, more important than all that, unless you're the type of person that travels 550 miles from Melbourne to Sydney with a gang of 6 of your pals for some ropey reasons, unless you're the type of person that was born here, wants to go to India and tell you how bad things are here and how wonderful India is, well, not you. Everybody else, have a good day. Cheerio, bye now.